So yeah, Jason.Staebell, and then we have some other people here that are, I guess you can reintroduce, people can hear.
Fontaine Burrus. I'm a transportation planner with the City of Minneapolis Public Works.
And Ryan Ackerman, Associate Transportation Planner, City of Minneapolis Public Works.
And Amanda Guentzel. I am on the project for public engagement on behalf of Hennepin County.
Excellent. So, our presentation today is kind of the three-lane restriping pilot, kind of an overview of how that went, and then kind of where we're going into our outreach moving forward for the reconstruction. So, some overview here is the three-lane restriping, happened last July, and kind of by August it was fully implemented. And so later in last year and early this year, we've kind of went out again to hear how people reacted to the three-lane of Lyndale Avenue. And so on the screen here, just some of the summaries of what we heard. The new crosswalks at 25th and 27th make a night and day difference. The street is much quieter. This person says it's 1000% improvement. And then significant changes to the 4 to 3. People noted, at Lake and Franklin, it has some challenges. And so it's that balancing of pedestrian, bike, and vehicle, trying to find that good mix. And so the comments we received back, 83% feel safer when they're walking and rolling, and then 74, even in cars, feel more comfortable using the road. So, does this feel like what you're hearing in the community too, or feeling yourself, or?
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah. Been near, it's hard to win everybody. The complaints are so minor in comparison to just how much of a quality of life improvement it's been for folks.
Right.
Okay, excellent.
If I can echo too, I just have nothing but extreme praise for this. I've heard lots of good things from friends who either visit or live in the adjacent area. I actually just ran into Marion Greene a couple days ago, and she really appreciated hearing the feedback, and she's heard similar feedback as well.
Excellent. Good to hear. So some more details on the pilot, going down to a 3-lane section. The way we do this in transportation is it's 85th percentile speed change. So what is the 85th percentile of speed of cars? And before the conversion, we were seeing northbound at about 39 miles per hour and southbound at 35. And after the conversion, it's 29-25, which is below the posted speed of 30 miles per hour. So slower cars, less cars weaving in and out of trying to jockey for position. So those are some of the positives seeing on the road, and you're probably seeing that with your own 2 eyes. And then kind of the pilot results for safety, before the conversion, how many crashes were happening per month along the corridor. So you can kind of see August through March, trying to compare the same amount of months as before and after. And so there was a decrease on every month, that we were able to look at that. It's unique to look at it in only 8 months. Usually you're looking at wider ranges just to try to find those trends. But even the fact that we're seeing a decrease over these 8 months is a promising thing that shows that the conversion is looking to be pretty safe for people.
I mean, adding 4 months and 60 crashes, I'd prefer to not have the crashes and less data.
Right.
Yeah,
True enough.
If I may,
I'm just curious, is there any distinguishing these crashes? Like, were they only car to car, or did any of them involve people that were walking or rolling, or was it like a single car hit the tree, or do we have that breakdown?
I do not have that in front of me, but I'm sure we can, if someone could take some notes.
Yeah, and the next one too. I think there's something pedestrian, right?
And Patrick, you had
On the next
that
one.
was the same question I had. Thanks, Pete.
So it's a 57% decrease in overall injury crashes, decreased by 48% as well. So but specifically
Mhm.
of the breakdown of each crash, I don't have that in front of me, but. And then another result we were just gonna go over is kind of pedestrian crossing vehicle non-compliance. So crossing the road before the conversion and after the conversion. So the one in blue kind of shows the number of vehicles not complying with a pedestrian crossing the road. And you can see they're all, 5, 6, 8.2. And so that's an average. They go out there multiple times, collect data. How many times are people not complying with stopping? And after the conversion, we have 2.5, 0.7. So at 27th, 25th, that's where those medians were put in, the RRPs. And 29th did not have anything put in at this point, but even with just the 3-lane conversion, it decreased the compliance or increased the compliance. Another positive. So now we're kind of moving into the reconstruction.
You just take a look, there's someone in chat there.
Yeah, it might have been Pete's question, but yeah, if you don't mind hovering over chat on the bottom there.
There's a little red icon there.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll probably have to, top left one.
Not an Apple guy.
Right, yeah.
Me neither.
Okay, so now we're moving into the reconstruction. So it's a reconstruction from Franklin down to 31st. The roadway is over 50 years old. It's reached its lifespan, and so where mill and overlays and minor things will not keep up. We'll have to keep doing it more and more. So it's time for a refresh. And so it's a process to get corridors put onto our CIP, and I'm not currently I'm not personally involved with that, but every corridor in the whole county.
There's benefit CIP.
Yeah, CIP is capital improvement program.
Hmm.
So this is now on our capital improvement program. It's secured federal funding to help pay for the reconstruction. So
Is that from the infrastructure bill?
it is, but it's just that infrastructure bill kind of made more money available for this already existing program.
Okay.
So
And then
this one would have scored high no matter what. So it didn't. The infrastructure bill didn't make it so this one became possible.
Thank you.
And then I just had maybe you happen to know this, just in a technical thing, when they are doing these redesigns, has there been like improvements in how they lay roads for longer lasting with like Minnesota weather? Is that also being it, or is it kind of usually still the same kind of?
No, I mean,
asphalt?
there's a lot of technology changes of your bituminous, your pavements, what you put underneath, the drainage that you put underneath, a lot of things you'll never see.
Mhm.
And there's harsh environments here, so I can't, it's kind of like a best guess how long it's gonna last based on kind of how much you can bend, just pretend like you're bending a straw or something.
Right.
And so if things exceed usage, it might not last as long.
Okay.
We try to take that best guess of how long it's gonna last, and we'll see. I guess none of us will see from 50 years from now.
Sure.
I don't think many of us are under
Yeah.
20.
But you're
but-
working with a much greater depth, like the kind of like stuff that we see in the winter is the surface level of. Here we're talking about a holistic everything.
Yep,
that-
yep,
Mhm.
Yep.
All of the foundations, like we're just probably seeing like the top.
Yep,
couple layers
yep.
or something.
yeah. So, yeah, it advances in how we put things down over the last 50 years. How we compact things when we're building it has advanced greatly.
Sweet.
So, like I said, it's between Franklin and 31st. The portion at Lake Street is part of the Beeline project, which will be starting next year. But we will have interactions with that on this reconstruction, how we tie into what they're doing down there.
Is it correct? Last update, I believe they've actually formally now extended it beyond Franklin to the north to include the nub underneath the interstate, correct?
It's not official yet, so that part is a city street, so city partners are, I think, discussing how they can bring that into
Yeah,
being part of
I
this.
think the desire would be to try to figure out how to design it and construct that connection at the same time. But we need to know what the cross section for the street is in order to figure out what that connection would look like.
So I think when people provide outreach and provide comments,
We wanna-
we want to hear from
Yeah.
that area, but it's currently not
Yeah.
part of the project.
With that in mind, though, will it have to go through the normal 5-year capital improvement cycle for city infrastructure, or is it gonna be able to be fast tracked because it's kind of in addition to an existing project?
Not sure which way it would go, but I think the desire would be to align it with this project and do it at the same time,
Awesome.
if we can secure the funding to do so.
Awesome, thanks.
So, overarching, improving safety for all users. So we're reconstructing corridors like this nowadays. It's holistically complete streets, all bikers, transit, walkers, and vehicles and trucks are part of the mix. But so trying to find that solution for this area. So project scope, kind of hit on some of these already. It's back sidewalk to back of sidewalk. So basically the public right of way. We're looking at what needs to be reconstructed, what are the elements that should be rebuilt for the next 50 years. And so a short list here: streetlights, curbs, signals, sidewalks, pavements, underground utility work. And we say other community desired elements. So what does that mean? We were looking to hear from everyone. Like, we've heard, bike lanes on Lyndale. There's not currently bike lanes. It's not currently on either the city or the county's bike plan, but those can be amended. And if that's a desire, I think that's, we want to hear from that. Transit only lanes, we've heard. Can we have transit only lanes on Lyndale? That we want to hear that if that's a desire. Parking lanes, there's already parking out there, and there's we'll be trying to find those balances of you can only fit so much in a space, and when we get all this information, right now we're in kind of that preliminary hearing. What are your people's interests in the corridor? What are their visions? And then we'll start developing some concepts that later this winter will come out and go, here's some concepts, and have people react to that.
And that survey that has been out is the people's best way to provide that feedback.
Right now,
Yep.
yeah, that's been live for 14 days and we've already heard from over 350 people, so.
Okay.
Is there a link that I missed on that? Like maybe in one of the newsletters?
Most recent newsletter.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll follow up when we post this. We'll have
Yeah.
one as well.
For listeners of the recording, that survey link will be included.
So kind of went over the path to construction. So right now we're kind of, what do you think about Lyndale Avenue South? And then in winter 23, we'll have some design concepts like I mentioned. And in the spring of 24, it's kind of taking the feedback from that and what is the preferred concept that eventually goes to city council for approval. And then from fall 24 into 25 into 26, we're doing final design, making those plan sets so a contractor can build this. And then as early as 2026, we're saying construction could start. It's a pretty long corridor, so I don't think it's 1 year construction. And we're also mindful of all the other projects going on in this area. Hennepin Avenue South, Franklin Avenue, just to name a few. So it's making sure we time this right. And so this is one of the later projects. So those other projects kind of affect when this one would start.
Can you pull up the chat?
Will this one tier in the same way? You'll probably 1 year of electrical work in advance of
Trees.
underground work.
Too early to tell, but not sure at this point. And trees are important, and there's a lot of good boulevard trees along the corridor at this point, and how all these elements that are desires come into a reconstruction. You could have some nice options, but totally take out that boulevard, and so that's a balancing act to try to figure out how to fit it all in.
Hopefully Kevin works for a nonprofit focused on planting trees.
Yeah, I'll keep on saying that.
Sweet.
Well, but at this stage, you know, just throwing even bad ideas out, you know, but ideas that are generative, like, this one was, I'll mention just because it was interesting. I was talking with the owner of SK Coffee, and which was 25th and 24th in Lyndale. And he was saying, you know, what if we did parking, but only on one side and angled so that you're compressing the space? And I'm just, that is an idea I never would have thought of, but you know, throw those all in the mix, and some of those are just going to be non-viable solutions. But just, you know, I'd say for anyone filling out the survey, like, go with what you want, and then we'll figure out like what's viable.
Yeah, that's where the design team is going to go. Yeah, if we do that, that means this happens, and so the more ideas, the more we'd rather hear their ideas now than 2 years from now, and trying to react to them. So fill us up with whatever you have to say. Yeah, and so I'm not missing any questions. So
Yeah, thanks for managing that, by the way.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Do you want us to share our ideas now or at the end of your presentation?
Well, in the survey, but I'm sure.
Oh,
you know,
just in the
Yeah, I
survey.
think
Okay.
probably primarily because it's gonna be the recording, maybe we share that separate from it so that it's easier in terms of the presentation being shared out with people, that it's mostly just the information, and then.
You also finish the recording, stop the recording, and then.
Yeah, that's
We'll
what I
keep the recording going, but yeah,
cut off at that
we'll
point.
focus on.
Okay.
the
Okay.
presentation and then add to that.
That sounds good.
And the QR code on the screen currently will get you to the survey.
Okay.
That's the engagement site link.
So we're meeting with everyone like this, you know, your neighborhood organizations. We met with one last night, was that Witter?
Whittier, yeah.
Yeah, and so I know going out there right now, this week, you'll start seeing some signs out there with some QR codes and about this open house happening on August 24th, so a week from now. And, you know, I encourage everyone to attend, but you at this meeting right now listening, it's not like brand new information. It'll be very similar. So we'll have some events, some like, you know, more than just a survey. So things that people can write on to provide their feedback if they don't have electronic means or would rather do it in person. So remind me the location. It's
At Jungle Theater.
Jungle Theater.
And the picture here is just an example of how we try to get people's feedback through different methods. Not everybody wants to scan a QR code and take a survey online. So this is what we call a string survey. Each post represents a question. Each bolt represents an answer, and they wrap their yarn. The yarn correlates with their age. So at the end of an event, you have this cool looking thing, and then we tally all the information, but it's just a different way to get people engaged in giving feedback. And so you might see this out at some other community events coming up too.
So there's some highlights of some upcoming community events, and then on that be her Hennepin.org, Lyndale Avenue, there'll be a constant update of listings posted there.
Well, and I don't know if I'm still in the loop on the email, but do you guys have a table for Porch Fest on Saturday or no?
No, that didn't go through, but we are doing, we do have flyers translated into Somali and Spanish as well as English that are going into your food share program banks. So we were able to connect into that program.
When you say it
Do you
wasn't
mind
approved,
putting
admit at the very top. Thank you.
when you say it wasn't approved, was it not approved by the county side, but it like didn't get through the organizers?
No, it was approved. It just, we didn't get logistics. We couldn't get it staffed. Yeah, we were hoping we have a musician on staff that we were hoping we could kind of insert, and that didn't work out. So best laid plans.
Well, we can still make sure that we have some signage and stuff like that.
Yeah,
for
and I can
events.
provide you with
Because even
flyers
just
and
having,
stuff.
yeah, even just having a
Yep.
flyer at each of the houses,
Yeah,
it's, 15 flyers or whatever.
yeah, absolutely.
We've got an info sign in front of our house.
Exactly.
Curiosity, so this is an interesting time to be gathering feedback since the E line will be routed onto Lyndale for a good chunk of your gathering, or your feedback gathering time. Is there gonna be, like, how is that element gonna be discussed when you're looking at design options, since like Lyndale will have a dramatically different feel, candidly, while that feedback's being gathered?
So while they're constructing the E line on Hennepin, they're routing buses onto Lyndale. Is that what I'm hearing?
I believe starting next spring,
Okay.
which might maybe to be correct in that one.
Well, thanks for that news. I did not know that was where they're rerouting, but it makes sense. I guess that will there'll be increased bus traffic on Lyndale, and that will help with knowledge of how the bus is using, how the corridor is being used by buses. So and when we come out with those alternatives, we might give some people thoughts on, should this be a bus corridor, or should we want X over one bus corridor?
We do have a rep from Metro Transit in our core meetings and stuff, so that's something that we'll bring up next meeting.
Great. So I believe also, I know it's not on the current, it's on like the future desired expansion list, but I believe the 4 is also eventually scheduled to become a BRT route in a
Correct.
decade or whatever. I didn't know if that was also going into potential, like laying the foundation for some of that eventual stop location, for example, or stop spacing.
Yep, that's definitely where Metro Transit's at our table for our project management team. And I think it's beyond 2030 for a bus rapid transit on Lyndale. It's kind of their long range plan, and yeah, it's one of the pieces in the pie to try to figure out how to work it out.
Just for Amanda to note for a potential action item, the other thing is this general vicinity demographically skews very young. One thing to keep in mind, since like this is a 2026 and beyond project, is talking to some of the local high schools, talking to some of the colleges for people that are likely to end up around here. So even though they're not active residents, I mean, by the time this stuff is done, we'll probably have like less than half of our current residents, that were here at the start of the process, there at the end of the process. And so, I mean, this is gonna have to be an iterative thing, but you can also get ahead of it a little bit too, in some ways.
Yep. It's always worth a try to get more input. And so that's why we have you here.
And I will say we've accounted for that when we're thinking about like online advertisement. We're like, yeah, maybe Facebook's not the greatest. Maybe we should go to Snapchat. And we have been thinking about that younger demo.
Great. I see a chat again. Okay. And so last slide is, like I said, Josh Potter is your project manager. So moving forward, he'll be the one presenting. You're in way better hands than me. So he's a great guy, and we'll be checking in regularly, I'm sure. So that's what we have.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.